Evelyn Hartman never believed the dead could reach across time. Ghost stories, whispers from the grave, those were tales she shelved at the library, not something she thought she would ever live through. But on her 34th birthday, the past didn't just knock. It left her a gift, one that should have been buried 6 feet under. Evelyn was 34 years old, a librarian at the town's public library. With her calm voice and thoughtful eyes, she was known for always recommending the perfect book to anyone who asked. She lived with her husband, Leonard, a 40-year-old carpenter who carried sawdust on his boots and laughter in his voice. Together they were considered steady, dependable, the kind of couple neighbours admired. But Evelyn carried a grief most couldn't see. 6 years earlier, she had buried her grandmother, Clara Whitmore, the woman who raised her after Evelyn's parents died in a car accident. Clara wasn't just her grandmother, she had been her foundation. The smell of her lavender perfume, the sound of her lullabies, the way she used to say, "You're my forever girl," all of it had vanished the day she died. On the morning of Evelyn's 34th birthday, Leonard kissed her cheek and hurried off to work early, promising to be home with cake later. She was alone when the doorbell rang. A small brown package sat on the doorstep. No return address, no courier logo. Just her name, written in handwriting she hadn't seen in 6 years. It was her grandmother's. Her hands shook as she carried the package inside. For a long moment, she just stared at it, heart pounding in her ears. Then, with trembling fingers, she tore the tape away. Inside was a small, carefully wrapped box tied with a faded blue ribbon. She knew that ribbon. Clara had kept spools of it in her sewing basket. Evelyn untied it slowly, afraid the whole thing might dissolve into smoke. The box held a birthday card. On the front, delicate watercolour flowers. Inside, written in that same looping script, "Happy birthday, my forever girl. Love, Grandma." Evelyn pressed the card to her chest. Tears blurred her vision, but tucked behind the card was something else. An old photograph, one she had never seen before. It was of her as a little girl, sitting on her grandmother's lap in front of the very house she now lived in. Only, the background wasn't quite right. The photograph showed a shadow in the window behind them. A shadow shaped like a man. Her breath caught. Clara had lived alone back then. That night, when Leonard came home, Evelyn showed him the package. He tried to comfort her, telling her it was probably a prank, maybe a cousin digging up old family things. But Evelyn knew her family. None of them had this photograph. None of them could copy Clara's handwriting perfectly. The next morning, another package appeared. Same brown paper, same handwriting. This time, inside was a silver locket Evelyn remembered her grandmother wearing every day. But it wasn't the locket that chilled her. It was the note tucked inside. "I'll always protect you." Even when you turn 36, Evelyn's heart skipped. Why 36? She was only 34 now. Over the next week, more packages arrived. Each one contained something from her grandmother's belongings, her old teacup, her favourite book, even the embroidered handkerchief Evelyn had placed in the coffin before it was lowered into the ground. But every package carried another note, and every note mentioned her turning 36. Evelyn stopped sleeping. Her eyes scanned every shadow, her ears strained for every creak of the floorboards. Leonard tried to convince her it was all some twisted joke. But then, the final package arrived. It was larger, heavier. Inside was a birthday cake. A cake decorated exactly the way her grandmother used to make it, with white frosting and sugared violets pressed into the sides. But across the top, Written in shaky blue icing were the words, "2 years left, my forever girl." Evelyn dropped the cake. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. The smell of sugar and violets filled the kitchen, but all she could taste was fear. Leonard wanted to take the packages to the police, but Evelyn refused. Who would believe them? Who would believe a dead woman was sending birthday gifts? And then, 3 nights later, Evelyn woke to the sound of someone humming. A lullaby. Her grandmother's lullaby. It came from the living room. When she crept down the hall, the room was empty. But on the table sat one more note, written on that same floral cardstock. "I'll see you on your 36th birthday." As the clock ticked closer to her 36th birthday, Evelyn wondered if the gift was truly from beyond the grave.